Heads-up displays are one of the most underappreciated parts of a well-designed game. They can change the look, feel, or difficulty of a game with what kind of information is presented, or even just how the information is presented. Today, most games have HUDs that aim to be as minimal as possible, so when people do complain, it's usually because it's so visually loud and busy it makes you want to have a brain aneurysm, kinda like Battleborn. Wildly distracting graphics, huge damage numbers, all the shit at the bottom, your weapon takes up like a third of the screen. Overwatch manages to display almost all of the same information as Battleborn, minus the accompanying epileptic fit. Health, ammo, abilities, and score, they even found a spot for the hero portrait. But if we're talking class-based shooters, Team Fortress 2's HUD is dead simple, with only 4 main gameplay components. It manages to stick to the game's 60s pulp-inspired art style, has an optional mini-mode taking up even less space, and has multiple options to adjust the size and position of weapon models. What's more is that it's the only game I know of that fully supports community-made custom HUDs. This one feature spawned a booming community, endlessly creating and updating new and old heads-up displays that rival, and in some cases surpass Valve's official work. Common projects range from attempts to recapture the original style with a modern approach to creating something entirely new, focusing on usability over any sort of art style, with everything in between. I've always preferred HUDs that put crucial elements like health and ammo center screen, because you and me both know it's as soon as you check your health that this guy's gonna pop around the corner. Of course, just centering all your business doesn't work for every game, or even most genres, but I'd love to see more titles with adjustable displays. The PS4 actually has a global option for HUD borders, but actually going in and manipulating individual elements would be, well, it'd be pretty tight, because the current trend is to push everything into corners to make HUDs as minimal as possible, and then ruin it with tooltips. If I had to guess, I'd say it's because of rising resolutions. You're able to display the same amount of information in far less space, but it has this side effect of making so many HUDs look the same. Look at GTA 5. You could cut this thing out and put it on nearly anything and no one would be the wiser, which is especially disappointing because the original trilogy actually manages to portray their individual tones through their HUD alone. GTA 3's dark, moody colors are a reflection of Rockstar's vision of New York City. Vice City's bright neon aesthetic screams, hey, this game takes place in the 80s. And San Andreas? Well, it doesn't really work my point, but it sounds like a gangster rap banger. On the other hand, games taking place in a futuristic or fantasy setting are usually much bolder with their HUD's visual design. Alien Isolation, Dishonored, and Dark Souls each have memorable HUDs in their own right, but for my money, the best one is in Breath of the Wild. Where you are, sounds you're making, time of day, power-ups.
There have been some isolated showers.
Okay, that's enough. The walls are closing in. There we go. This is the HUD I was talking about. Like most modern open world games, Breath of the Wild shipped with a HUD toggle, but what sets Zelda apart from the others is the fact that the entire game is designed around being completely playable in either mode. Temperature is displayed through both the game's world and Link's animations. Sounds are broadcasted fairly clearly. Obviously enemies are gonna hear you clanking around a suit of armor, but you might get away with yoga pants and a t-shirt. Checking the time is, well, it's pretty easy, and most major quests use easily distinguishable landmarks to guide you, like Death Mountain or Dueling Peaks. Your environment and character are just as effective a HUD as the symbols on screen, if you're willing to be a little more perceptive. The only component that couldn't be worked into the game's world is the health bar, but sci-fi FPSs pull off something similar with a little something called diegesis. So what is diegesis? Basically, it's the things that are actually present within the world. Usually, the word is used to refer to soundtracks in movies. For example, in John Wick, the music playing in this scene is heard by the characters in the movie and the audience, because they're in a fucking nightclub. But Batman didn't throw the OST into the Bat CD player, so none of the characters in this scene can hear the music playing, only the audience. John Wick's soundtrack is diegetic, and the Dark Knight soundtrack is non-diegetic. The same goes for heads-up displays. Link can't see floating garbage on your screen, the soldier can't tell what his health is, Tony Hawk doesn't know how many points that combo was worth, and it doesn't matter how batshit crazy Trevor is, he doesn't see a floating GPS in the corner of his vision. But Halo can see his shields, Metroid knows how many missiles he has left, and Republic Commando can see when you save your game with his own 2 eyes. Okay, maybe not, but each of these HUDs are present within the game's world, and sci-fi FPSs have been doing it for decades. There's an easy explanation built into the genre itself with whatever overpowered super armor your guy is wearing. Some games try to go the extra mile, like Halo showing ammo on some weapons as well. But Metroid Prime takes it to the next level with all sorts of visor effects, like goose splatters, raindrops, or even seeing Samus's face reflecting off the visor, which, credit where credit is due, is an effect pioneered by Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the rescue. In third person, that sort of sci-fi diegesis is a much much more difficult effect to reproduce, but Dead Space manages to pull it off in spades. Health is a glowing bar in your spine, ammo count and crosshair are projected from your gun, and all pop-ups are actually present in the game, so if you spin the camera around, the message is all backwards. It's still clearly video gamey nonsense, like why are your own vital signs on your back the one place where you wouldn't be able to see them? But everything is presented in such a way that enhances immersion because it's so seamlessly integrated into the game's world. It's an extremely uncommon kind of HUD, but had such a positive impact on me, it's the only thing I actually remember from the series. Getting away with a diegetic HUD in a contemporary setting is a lot less common than sci-fi because you can't just point to the helmet and say, "That's why." But games have definitely tried to find ways around it. A bunch of late 2000s FPSs tried integrating health into the game's world, but just throwing jam on my screen when I get stabbed isn't realistic video games. Uncharted managed a similar, substantially less obnoxious effect by draining color from your screen as you take damage. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just gotta throw an ammo counter on screen. It might not be immersive, it might not be realistic, but sometimes it's just a whole lot more fun to know how many bullets you have than it is when you don't. Wow, did you just watch that whole video? Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like or comment, and if you can't get enough Volcad fog, subscribe. If my, let's say, erratic upload schedule leaves a little to be desired, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or check out my Twitch channel. I'm even less active on those platforms, but at least it's a little more content to go around. Thanks for watching.